Hi everyone. Today is 31st of December and a very good morning to all of you, and let's start with the today's Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, starting up with the video. So in the today's session we are going to discuss the entire Hindu newspaper. We'll take all the articles which are important for our examination. We'll simplify the articles, we'll understand the concepts behind these articles, and we'll see that how for the examination way forward etc. can also be taken up. Now, before starting up, I would like to tell you that if you are joining this session for the first time, you can download synoptic notes of this entire session. Here, when we talk about synoptic notes, we have covered all the articles that are important in the today's newspaper. Fine. You can download these synoptic notes from Telegram channel, and link for Telegram channel has been given in description box in YouTube. So you can go there. Moreover, you can directly visit Telegram and can search the notes there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Fine. Now, moving on. Before moving on, guys, in this particular direction, I would like to first before moving on in this particular direction, I would first like to give you the overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important in today's newspaper. So let's take the overview. So here we have the first article talking about core sector output rises 5.4% in uneven recovery. Now you don't need to go too much in details in this particular data. You don't need to track that, okay, which sector has went up, which sector had went down. But briefly, we are going to discuss that what is this IIP, what are the core sectors, what is the weightage of the core sector, and all such kind of things. Then moving on, most small saving plans to yield more in new quarter PPF Sukanya rates static. So guys, the interest rates, the existing interest rates and the interest rates that are being revised etc., it is being discussed. However, no need to go and see these interest rates for the examinations. Okay, then moving on. After that, Chhattisgarh government staff can now choose between old and new pension plans. So different state governments are reverting to old pension scheme. So we'll see that what is this old and new pension schemes, the basic difference we are going to see with respect to the examination. Then further moving on, after that, the other articles are not that much important. Coming to the regional section, so in the city section, political, regional, crime related, all these news, tenders etc. have been there. No need to go and no need to go in the details in this particular direction. Now, moving on, here there is one article, study shows butterflies bedazzle predators and escape. So we'll see one small concept of ecology here. Fine. Then moving on in this particular direction, guys, we reach to editorial section. So first editorial, in the new evolving world, India needs a new vision. We'll see this article with respect to examination. Then a precipice of shame. So this article talks about recent incident where there are certain deaths happened in Uzbekistan because of the consumption of some cough syrup that has been manufactured by one of our pharmacy in India. So we'll see that how this thing holds implications for India's pharmaceutical industry. Then moving on, below, the strong case exists for marriage equality. We'll see this particular article also with respect to exam. Then the side article, bad to worse. So basically, Benjamin Netanyahu's comeback in Israel is being discussed. So how it might fuel to right wing and all such kind of things. However, article doesn't contains much of substance for the examination because the article is more inclined towards internal political scenario of Israel. So no need to go too much in detail here. Then further moving on. So today is Saturday, and on Saturday we have this ground zero report. Fine, the op-ed page doesn't comes. Now this ground zero report, the other side of sanctuary. So basically, guys, what has happened there, the Supreme Court has given the decision that all the protected areas, 1 kilometer region around the protected areas, needed to be preserved as eco-sensitive zone for conservation. Now this article is a ground report that how people are protesting there. So personal stories of the people, how the protests are going on, in which region protests are going on, which organization is leading protest, that angle has been given. So for examination, much substance is not contained in this particular article. No need to go too much in detail in the article. Fine. Then moving on, courts should step up, clear long pending cases by Independence Day, CGI, Chief Justice of India. So basically, guys, when we talk about the judicial pendency in India, around 4 crore, nearly 4.5 crore cases are pending in India across the different levels. So we need to reduce that particular pendency. And Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has provided that some cases are pending, they are dating back to 1970. So we need to resolve these particular cases and digitization can be taken up. Then moving on in this particular direction, guys. After that, uh, Then we have seen that the Prime Minister's mother passed away, so the condolences message, etc. Fine, they are there. Then moving on, self-declaration must for boarding pass for flyers from 5 nations. Not important article. With large startup ecosystem, India is a big market for cloud services. We'll see this particular article. One case study is there that how the cloud services are helping Indian startup culture. We'll take that particular thing. Then further moving on in this particular direction, on the business or the world page, we see this thing that Putin, Xi hail best in history ties vow to deepen relations. So China, Russia are deepening that relations. Now why China and Russia are coming together? It is particularly because they want to counter US. So the rise of US has to be countered, and in that capacity, the deepening of relation is going on. So China's US envoy to be next foreign minister. No need to go too much into the detail. Then coming on business page, bank credit to service sector jumped. Okay, so I have told you yesterday also that you don't need to go too much in detail in month to month change in data that is happening. So in end, when economic survey will come, so with the coming of economic survey, we'll actually be seeing that what are major economic trends that have been there. Then further moving on, forex reserves dip to second straight week. Okay, then there are some other evolutionary trends, and then we have the sports page. So this is overview of entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles which are important for our exam point of view one by one in details. Now, starting up, so in every class we start with taking a GS quotation. So guys, we are taking the quotation today from Kofi Annan. Fine. So Kofi Annan says education is a human right. Education is a human right with immense power to transform. On its foundation rest the cornerstone of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. So education has been equated with a human right which cannot be denied under any circumstances, and education can bring a substantial transformation. Social transformation, economic transformation, and even political transformation can be brought by education. And it has been said that education rests on the pillars of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Now, this particular quotation can be used in GS paper number 2, questions related to education, and even in essay, this quotation can be utilized. Now, moving on to first article. Moving on to the first article. Fine. Okay. So the first article, Precipice of Shame. This particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2 health, as well as this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3. Fine. Pharma industry. Okay. Now, first of all, what does this particular word precipice means? Guys, precipice means something that is very steep, something that is very sharp. So basically, a sharp cliff, a sharp mountain, a sharp escarpment. Fine, it is called as a precipice. Now, what is this precipice of shame? So recently, one incident has happened. Let's talk about that particular incident, and then we'll understand the basic aspects behind this incident and implications of it. So recently, one of a pharmaceutical company exported cough syrups to Uzbekistan, and after consuming those cough syrups, there are many people who have died. Now, this similar kind of incident happened few months back also, and few months back that was the case of Gambia. Okay, few months back that was the case of Gambia. So what has happened? Just a minute. Okay, so basically what has happened, earlier the cough syrups were exported to Gambia, and now the cough syrups have been exported to Uzbekistan, and in both of these countries there are the deaths that have been attributed to this. Now, the Gambia incident when happened, World Health Organization WHO has flagged this particular matter. Right now, this matter has not been flagged by WHO. The matter has been flagged by the Uzbekistan's health ministry. Now, the concerning point is that both of these medications, both of these batch of syrups, they were spiked with DEG, that is the diethyl glycol. Now, first of all, let's understand that what is this diethyl glycol, because of which the poisoning is happening in these cough syrups. So, guys, when we talk about the diethyl glycol, so this is a compound which is used as an adulterant. Fine, DEG, diethyl glycol, and sometimes ethylene glycol. These components are related to, they have caused the kidney failure. Okay, and when they are consumed by the human, it leads to the vomiting, diarrhea, inability to pass urine, headache, altered mental states, fine, acute kidney failure, which can lead to death. Now a question comes that when they are so much harmful, when they are so much dangerous, why pharmaceutical companies are using these components in their syrups or in their medicines? Reason for that particular thing is majorly economical. Now guys, when we talk about this particular component, it is used as a solvent in liquid medication. So in liquid medication, they are used as solvents. Actually, they are not allowed to be used as solvents. The pharmaceutical company has to use glycerin, fine, or they have to use propylene glycol. They can be used as a solvents in and they provide liquid base to non-water soluble paracetamol and all these kind of medicines. But in order to save the cost, cheaper alternatives such as diethylene glycol are being used by the pharmaceutical companies. So they are the cheaper alternatives, and sometimes their amount spikes up in certain batches of the cough syrup, and because of that, these fatalities, these deaths happen. Okay, so this is something that these companies are involving in. So we have seen that a few months back there was the case in which in Gambia there were export of a batch that was carried. After that particular thing, when the children died, WHO raised that matter, and upon WHO's raising of that matter, Drug Controller General of India, DCGI, has first of all has banned the export license of that particular company. That is something happened, but laterwards what happened, the government of India started to question WHO's assessment standard. Government of India provided this particular thing that as per our test that we did, there was the basically DEG levels were not spiked, but now that is something that has happened. So government questioned the WHO's testing standards. Now the article is talking about this particular thing, that rather than focusing on that particular thing, rather than questioning the WHO, government did not focus that why this difference is coming. So there might be difference. Now guys, the control samples that government tested and the actual batch that was exported to Gambia, that could be different. But that particular focus was not made by government. So it has been said that when we talk about India, okay, when we talk about India, we are world's biggest manufacturing, biggest pharmacy, generic manufacturers. In this particular direction, particularly in pandemic, India has played a very important role. Okay, so therefore these particular kind of things don't bring good name to India. In fact, government had said that all these particular things, allegations that have been made in India, they are a part of a larger scandal. It is a part of a larger scandal that wants to malign India's reputation, that wants to malign India's reputation as supplier of pharmaceutical goods. But we further need to understand that rather than brushing these particular kind of things, if India needs to further investigate that why such kind of matters have happened, and all inquiry due diligence should be carried. We should take this particular matter very seriously. Okay, now we have discussed about the DCGI. So let's talk about briefly about the regulatory regime, regulatory structure. So in India, we have Central Drug Standards Control Organization, CDSCO. CDSCO is India's national regulatory body which regulates cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, all these kind of things. And at the same time, within the CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, there is a DCGI, that is a Drug Controller General of India. And a Drug Controller General of India specifically regulates the pharmaceuticals, okay, medicines, etc., and medical devices. So here DCGI's role will come in place. So now DCGI needs to be very proactive, and all these particular matters are to be taken with utmost seriousness. Fine. So that is all about this particular article. And now moving to next article. Okay. So this article is taken from the editorial section, and article reads, a strong case exists for marriage equality. a strong case exists for marriage equality. Now, this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper 1, GS paper number 1, social issues, and GS paper number 2, social justice. Social issues and social justice will see this particular article. Now, first of all, guys, nowadays you might have read, and we also discussed in our newspaper article, that case with the matter with respect to the same-sex marriage is going in news. Few months back, one of a gay couple, one of a gay couple in Hyderabad also get married. Now, first of all, you don't need to get confused, okay? Their marriage cannot be registered. Why? Because right now, under provisions of Special Marriage Act, marriage is just defined as union between heterosexual couple. Homosexual couple, they cannot get married as per the present marriage laws. But the homosexual people, they are asking that they should be allowed to get married within India. First of all, as we talk about the legal status of homosexuality in India, so earlier section 377 of IPC banned criminalized homosexuality, but after Supreme Court judgment of Navtej Singh Johar case, homosexuality has now been decriminalized. Is it clear or not? So recently what has happened, there was one of a member of parliament which has given a statement that same-sex marriages go against the cultural ethos of India. And now this particular thing has again stirred up that whether we should allow same-sex marriages under the Special Marriage Act or not. Even petition is pending in this particular direction at Supreme Court. Now, a question comes that whether courts should intervene in marriage rights or should leave it to wisdom of parliament. Now, as of now, parliament has not allowed. So, should parliament see that particular matter, or Supreme Court should go in this particular direction? This issue has come. Now, guys, when we talk about LGBT people's rights, homosexual people's right, particularly the right to get married, these rights are taken under pretext of two broader rights, that is right to privacy and right to equality. Now, the right to homosexual people to get married, number one, comes under privacy debate. It comes under privacy debate, that it is the matter of their private life whether they want to marry with a person of same sex or whether they want to marry a person of opposite sex, okay? And nobody should intervene in that particular thing. It is their private life's matter. And second argument that flows, it flows from the right of equality. So basically it is being said that when heterosexual marriages are being given sanctity, when heterosexual marriages are being recognized, why homosexual marriages are not being recognized? In both homo and heterosexual marriages, two people are coming together, but we recognize heterosexual because two different sex people are coming together. But why then homosexual marriages are not recognized? So on pretext of equality also, there are the arguments that have been made. Now, basically around the world, different constitutional courts have given different judgments on recognizing homosexual relations. So we are going to see that how these different courts have recognized this kind of relation. So basically it is being provided. That when we talk about the different legal systems, we can take example of European Court of Human Rights. Now, European Court of Human Rights, in the case of Dudgeon versus UK, struck down the offence of buggery. Buggery is anal intercourse. Earlier it was said that anal intercourse goes against the order of nature. So therefore it was a criminal offence, but it got struck down. Now, why it got struck down? It got struck down because it has been said that this offence was creating restriction on the intimate part of personal life. It was pressing on intimate part of personal life. It is impacting the privacy. So therefore, this particular offence has been struck down. Now, it can be seen that European Court of Human Rights particularly has taken this stand on the basis of privacy argument. They are saying that in the private life, whatever the two consenting individuals are doing, let them do. We should not interfere. So on that particular basis, it got struck down. But it has been said that, now guys, understand this particular thing, that when you are recognizing anything on the basis of privacy, when you're recognizing anything on the basis of privacy, further scope of recognizing that particular act to greater extent, it gets limited. Now it has been said that when we talk about this particular approach that was taken laterwards, when the same sex couple tried to seek marriage rights, they were not allowed. It was said that type of sexual relation you want, it is your private life, but because it was not recognized on the pretext of equality, their marriages were not recognized. So in European, these particular kind of unions, they have been recognized as just civil partnerships. They have been recognized as civil partnerships. Marriage rights have not been given. Why? Because on matter of equality, it did not got decided. Now, moving on, here we can take example of other countries such as South Africa. Now, in South Africa also, LGBT activists, they have raised the matter of same-sex marriages, the relations between the same-sex people, and there South Africa recognized this particular right on the basis of equality. That on basis of equality, this right has been accepted, and when this happened, further they also reached the court for marry and all such kind of things, and therefore it is now possible that it can be allowed. Now, when further we move to other countries, such as if we take the USA's example, so USA has taken a different kind of approach. USA has decriminalized the same-sex relations and had granted the marriage rights. Now, why they have done? Because they have recognized this particular right flowing out of personal liberties, as well as out of equality. They have recognized this particular thing. Now, when we talk about India, in India also, we have taken South African approach, and in Navtej Singh Johar case, where actually decriminalization of same-sex marriages happened, there it happened on the basis of Article 14. It happened on basis of Article 14, Article 15. Article 14, Article 15 provides that there cannot be differential treatment that can be carried with the two people on behalf of a state. So on basis of equality, we have recognized the same-sex relations. Now a time comes that basically we should further extend this particular entitlement that has been given, and we should allow even marriages to them. This is what this article is talking about. Now, in previous judgments, Supreme Court has even recognized that after giving rights to LGBT people, such as the right of same-sex relations, other rights should also be given to them. For example, there is basically there are many such kind of rights are there. Rights of privacy, right of health, fine, all such kind of rights are there which are to be given. Right of employment, right of healthcare, right to education, right to equal civil and citizen rights. This is something that the court's focus has been there. And now, in this particular direction, further whatever rights are to be given, we need to move in this particular direction. Now, so this is, guys, all about this article, and moving to next article. Okay, so this article, first of all, let's see what article heading is. In the new evolving world, India needs a new vision. Now, this particular article is actually, guys, giving a snapshot. This article is giving the snapshot of a present situation in which India is, what India needs in this particular present situation, what are the challenges that India is facing, what is a world order that is going on. So it is a kind of a recap on entire 2022. Let's discuss the article. Article will be seen with respect to GS paper number 2. So here a quotation from Vladimir Lenin has been given. So Lenin had said this thing, that there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. So sometimes nothing happens, but in certain weeks the developments worth a decade happened, and 2022 fits this particular premise. In 2022, we saw that so many of developments have happened which are worth decades. For example, a global war got started in 2022. War between Russia and Ukraine got started. After that, we saw this particular thing, retaliatory economic sanctions was imposed. For example, USA had imposed a lot of sanctions on Russia. Then trade dependencies have triggered wars of inflation. Okay, we know this particular thing. Russia plays a very important role in critical supply chains. China plays a very important role in critical supply chains. But now Russia and China had come together, and West, particularly the USA, in order to control this excess of China and Russia, is imposing a lot of sanctions on them. And because of that particular thing, supply chains got disrupted and inflation has increased. And in this particular year 2022, we have seen that even USA had seen worst inflation in last 45 years. Recession, global recession, economic recession is going on, gas shortage in winters, all these particular problems, issues have emerged in 2022. So 2022 was a quite an eventful year. Now in this particular direction, guys, it is being provided that America, fine, USA is now again coming out with a lot of trade restriction against their enemies. It is promoting trading blocks among its allies. For example, you take this particular example, guys, that when we talk about the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum is there. Okay, let's take example of one trade grouping. Let's talk about the Quad. Sorry, this is a strategic grouping, Quad strategic grouping. So quadrilateral security dialogue. 4 countries have come together. These 4 countries are US, India, Japan, and Australia. These 4 countries have come together and they are making a strategic bloc. Now, moving from that particular strategic bloc, they are also moving in economic dimension. Okay, there are certain initiatives such as supply chain resilience initiative that has been started. Supply chain resilience initiative specifically wanted that we need to diversify the supply chains from China to other countries. Decoupling is going on. Okay, decoupling is going on, particularly from China. So what is happening? The USA, it is trying to impose trade restrictions on China and Russia, and at the same time it is promoting its own trade blocks where its allies are being incentivized, its allies are being promoted. Okay, so this therefore now a formation of friend trade groups have happened where with like-minded countries USA is going forward. Now when we talk about, guys, India, fine, we saw this particular thing that India's explosive exports growths have been there in last 4 decades, and because of good performance of exports, India reaped a lot of economic benefits. But now India, now basically we find this particular thing that the world is getting polarized. World is getting polarized. On one hand, Russia plus China camp is there. On one hand, US camp is there. Now if India will go towards one particular camp, let's say Russia or China or USA, India is going to sacrifice on many of the opportunities. So therefore India cannot afford it. So India needs to design its foreign policy in such a way that at simultaneously it can venture in both of these groups. So here strategic autonomy of India is going to play a very important role. So today economic nationalism, glorification of economic nationalism is going on, where the countries are making its own groupings and they are confined in that groupings. India should focus that it doesn't goes in that particular line. Fine, India needs to take advantage across all the different groups that are there. Now, at the same time, in this particular year, we have seen this particular thing that China has also China's advancement has happened towards Indian territories. Recently, we have seen that India-China dispute started in had happened in the Tawang sector. So, as the disputes are emerging, India needs to be mindful about China also. Now, China has also managed to take the had managed to get strategic use of debt diplomacy, economic power, and a common enemy doctrine. So strategic use of debt diplomacy, you might have read about, you might be knowing about Belt and Road Initiative. So under Belt and Road Initiative, China is providing unsustainable loans, unsustainable debts to many of these countries, and when these countries are not able to finance that particular debt, China is using that upper hand, is using that particular leverage for strategic advantages. So deliberately it's promoting debt diplomacy, it's promoting its economic power, it's making other countries dependent on China. Then common enemy doctrine, is it clear or not? So basically China is identifying the countries and are finding the common enemies in the countries and bringing them on board. So China is increasing its clout. This is something that is happening. So today when we talk about the Chinese threat, it is not just a border threat, it is just not a territorial threat, rather it has become economic threat, territorial threat, strategic threat for India, and India needs to see that what it can do to counter such issue. Now, what is the need of hour? What we need to focus right now? Now, need of hour, guys, that has been provided is not only economic or political, but all dimensions have been covered here. So, need of hour is such that number one, we need to focus on social harmony. We need to focus on social harmony. So basically, it is being said that if we want to become economic power, we cannot differentiate. Factories cannot differentiate between the workers. I'll just complement this particular thing by one example. So in 2020, Haryana came out with an act, and under that particular act, it was provided that 75% of jobs in private sector, which are where salaries up to 30,000 rupees are being paid, these jobs will be reserved for the people who are domiciled in Haryana. This law came in Haryana. Fine. Now, what is happening? In a way, the native people of Haryana are being promoted. Basically, guys, we see this thing that Haryana is emerging as a center of automobile industry. It is emerging as a center for BPOs, KPOs, IT sector also. We have the examples of cities such as Gurugram. Now, these corporate houses, they cannot discriminate that, okay, will hire only people from this state and not from other states, and even state should not impose such kind of a things. So basically, social harmony needs to be brought where all people need to come together. So factories cannot afford to differentiate amongst the people of multiple identities. They need to work together. Distrust, hatredness, that has become a problematic thing now. It cannot be taken up. Hatredness of the people on the basis of their religion, identity, caste or class. We need to reduce that so that everybody comes together and they can help in meeting the common goals. Fine. So communal harmony in India is under threat, and we need to ensure the communal harmony. Then next thing that is talking about is that basically there is a need to have holistic military, diplomatic, social and economic strategy. Okay, our reactions to global development should not be knee-jerk reaction. They should not be reactive reactions. Our reactions should be calculated. They should be well planned. So therefore, on all that particular dimension, economic, strategic, all on such dimensions, we need to have a designed policy. Next, we need to further modernize our defense capabilities. We need to augment our defense capabilities. In this particular direction, we are already doing a good work. Okay, so we need to have the defense capabilities, state of the art weaponry we need to develop. Okay, moreover, with respect to the foreign policy and with respect to the military interest of India, we need to have a very clear policy in this particular thing. Then next, India needs to okay, the next thing that comes here is that India also needed to understand this particular thing, that all economic development that is India is taking, economic growth that is taking, environmental regard, environmental concern needs to be there. Okay, so environmental concerns need to be there. We need to move away from the monopolies of the private enterprises. Okay, monopolies of capitalists, we need to move away from that. We need to focus on labor rights. We need to create a new inclusive labor market. Okay, so all these particular things need to be focused in 2023, the era that now is coming. And therefore, it has also been provided that not only on economic front, environmental front, but on political front, greater cooperation will be needed. So in past 1 year, we have seen that there are many controversies between center and the state government, where particularly state from opposition states, they have said that center government is stifling us. So now the time comes that we need to focus more on political governance, which is carried on decentralization, which is carried on federalism reforms needed to be brought. Fine, both center and state need to work as partners so that they help each other. So these are certain reforms that needs to be focused in 2023 and certain issues that went back by 2022. So this article is first of all giving a recap on challenges of 2022 and prescriptions for 2023. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Fine, I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Okay, so the article reads, core sector output rises 5.4% in uneven recovery. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that here basically the data have been given. For example, this is the movement, fine, month wise, year on year core sector growth. Now You are not required to see that which sector, which component in core sector, which industry in the IIP has increased, but certain basic facts we need to see with respect to this development for GS paper, for sorry polity, sorry for prelims economy section. So certain things we need to see for prelims economy section. So let's understand that what is this IIP, what is a core sector in IIP. Fine. So basically, when we talk about IIP, which is being discussed, IIP stands for Index of Industrial Production. And Index of Industrial Production is a measure of industrial activity in a country. So we see if IIP is doing good, we find that industrial growth in the nation is good. In India, the Index of Industrial Production, it is calculated by CSO, that is a Central Statistical Organization. CSO is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Okay. Now, further moving on. Okay. Okay. One more thing is there, guys, just to tell you that CSO plus NSSO has been now merged under NSO, has now been merged under NSO. So basically both are correct. If it gives a CSO, fine. If it answer, if an option you have NSO, both are correct. So Central Statistical Organization or NSO, both are correct. Now, when we talk about the IIP, within IIP we have core sector. Within IIP we have core sector. Now, what is core sector? Core sector is group of 8 industries which contribute the maximum weightage or which contribute the significant weightage in IIP. So the 8 core sectors are these. Fine, you can find the table. Electricity, steel, cement, crude oil, coal, refinery, fertilizer and natural gas. So these are the 8 core sectors that we have. Okay. So basically, if you now again go back to article, core sector output means within IIP, these 8 core sectors that we have just saw in the table, this core sector has registered a growth of 5.4%. It has registered the growth of 5.4% in an uneven recovery, because sometimes the recovery is more, then it goes down, then it again comes up, then goes down, then goes up. So recovery has been uneven and it has recovered for 5.4%. Now, which sector within core, which sector within IIP has registered what growth, these data are not needed to go too much in the article. Now, moving to the next article. Okay, Chhattisgarh government staff can now choose between old new pension plans. Okay, so first of all, let's understand that what is this old pension scheme, new pension scheme. This particular article, guys, will be important for economy GS paper number 3. Okay, and then we'll see that what development has happened in Chhattisgarh. So old pension and new pension schemes are actually the socio-economic nets that government provides to its employees. So when we talk about the old pension scheme, it was a pension scheme that was in effect till 2004. This was a scheme that was in effect till 2004. Under old pension scheme, the people who have worked under the government, they were entitled to receive a pension amount that was based on 2 things. Number 1, length of their service. It was based on the length of their service, how much years that they have served, and secondly, it was based on the last salary that they have drawn. Okay, and thirdly, when they will get retired, they also receive a lump sum amount. So all these 3 components were the part of the old pension scheme. Again, I am repeating, on the basis of the length, fine, how many years you have served, on the basis of the last salary that was drawn, and on to these 2 factors, the pension will be calculated. And apart from the pension that will be calculated on these 2 factors, a lump sum amount will also be given. These were the features of old pension scheme, and this old pension scheme was given till 2004. Now, after this, what has happened? New pension scheme or national pension system has come. So national pension system or this new pension scheme, it has been introduced in 2004 for government employees who joined after 2004. And in this particular scheme, what happens? Basically, the government employees, they will contribute a part of their own salary. They will contribute the portion of their salary. Then another portion of salary, the matching contribution will also be given by government. For example, 1000 rupees, let's say, is being given by government employee, then 1000 rupees matching contribution will be given by government. Now this money will be invested in certain asset classes, in certain assets this money will be invested, and then the return will be generated, and then that entire corpus will be given as a pension. From that corpus the pension will be given. Now the major difference between old pension scheme and new pension scheme is this, that under the old pension scheme, on the basis of the length of the salary and the last salary, the pension was carried. On the basis of the length of service, sorry, and on the basis of the last salary, the pension was calculated. But in new pension scheme, what is happening? The contributions have to be made by employer also. Contribution has to be made by, employee also. Sorry, contribution has to be made by employee also. But earlier, such thing was not there. So many of the employees, they want that old pension scheme should come back. And in this particular capacity, different state governments are coming out with decisions, and many of them are reverting back to old pension scheme. Major thing is that the gratuity amount, lump sum payment amount that was given in old pension scheme, it is now not being given. Now, what Chhattisgarh government has done? So Chhattisgarh government has provided that now the government employees can choose between old or new pension plan. So basically it has been provided that all the people who have joined service after April 1, 2022, they will be covered under OPS, old pension scheme, and who have joined before that, 2004 to 2022, they have an option to choose what they want. They can enroll in that particular thing. Now, other hairline details that have been given, not very much important for examination. Now, moving to next article. So this is the difference between old and new pension scheme. Moving to next article. Okay, so the article reads, a study shows butterflies bedazzle predators and escape. Now, this particular article, guys, will take with respect to the prelims examination, environment, ecology, adaptation phenomena. Okay, now, so basically, guys, what the article is all talking about, let me tell you. So basically what has happened, there is a study that has been carried, a 5-year study has been carried by National Center for Biological Sciences, and in this particular study they have provided that the butterflies have developed a defense mechanism. Butterflies have developed a defense mechanism. What is this defense mechanism? Defense mechanism, fine, it is an adaptation phenomena where the butterflies invoke a kind of a mimicry. Mimicry will be done. Now, what is this particular mimicry? So basically, if there is a predator, okay, let's say there is a lizard, or there is any such kind of a bird, so any such kind of an animal, let's say, who is a predator for butterflies. So basically the palatable organism that can be eaten by a predator, that palatable organism will mimic the features of unpalatable organism. Okay, now guys, let's take one example. Suppose there is one organism which eats X and which eats Y. This organism doesn't thrives on A. It consumes X, it consumes Y, but it cannot consume A. Okay, so A is unpalatable. A is unpalatable organism. X and Y are palatable organism. They are palatable organisms. So basically, when butterflies come across through their predators, so obviously butterflies are palatable organism for them, but butterflies will mimic as unpalatable organisms. Okay, and this is called as mimicry. This is called as mimicry. So here what happens, the unpalatable one, they are called as models, or they are also called as Mullerian co-models. And to whom they are mimicking? Fine, they are the palatable one, fine, and the palatable ones is, just a minute, sorry, the unpalatable one to whom they are mimicking, they are called as models, and butterflies who are actually mimicking, fine, who are actually the palatable, they are called as Batesian mimics. So this is a mimicry. Now in the past, such kind of questions have been there where such adaptation phenomena have been asked. So briefly, you should know it. But beyond that, nothing is important. Beyond that, substance is not there in this particular article. Fine. So no need to go read this entire article. Just these things. Fine. Okay, then moving on. So this article is also there. With large startup ecosystem, India is a big market for cloud services. So basically, guys, what happened? An event was hosted by AWS, Amazon Web Services, and in this event, Amazon Web Services, they have just provided this particular thing, that as we talk about India, India is the third largest ecosystem for startups. Okay, number of startups, they have increased dramatically over the past few years. For example, here some data is being given. In 2016, there were 452 registered startups. They have increased to around 84,000. They have increased to around 84,000 in recent times. So we today have the third largest ecosystem for startups. Now these particular startups, they need cloud storage. They need cloud storage where data will be stored. Okay, so cloud storage is needed where the data will be stored. So now it has been said that the early startups, they don't have that financial capacity to buy the cloud storage, which is very much expensive. So Amazon Web Services, AWS, is providing the free cloud storage. They are given the credits. Okay, so the new startups, they are given credits. For example, $1,000 credit, fine, $1,000 credit, $5,000, $10,000 credit are given, so that by that particular credit they can buy the cloud storage at Amazon. Okay, so this is that has been provided. So this way Amazon is helping them. So just we can use it as a kind of a reference. So that is all about it. And now we'll take mains practice question for today. So mains practice question reads, India's political governance model calls for greater decentralization and federalism reforms to cater to widening divergence among states. Discuss. This question is for GS paper number 2, 10 marker question. So that is all, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to today's newspaper analysis discussion. Guys, I hope that you have understood. If you have liked the video, please do hit like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. Fine. Sir, not understood palatable and unpalatable. Palatable organism is one which can be eaten by a predator. Clear? For example, let's say I can consume chapati. Chapati is palatable for me. I cannot consume some other thing. I cannot consume iron. So iron is unpalatable. So the organisms, okay, for example, let's say there is a frog, and let's say there is a butterfly. Frog and there is a butterfly. Frog, let's say frog can eat butterfly. So butterfly is palatable for frog. Frog, let's take an example, cannot consume some other insect. Frog cannot consume some other insect. Okay, so this insect is unpalatable for frog. So butterfly will mimic like this insect. Okay, so this is that. Fine. I hope this is clear. Okay, guys. Fine. So that is all about it. Yes, guys, any other doubt? Okay, and meanwhile, a very good morning to all of you who have wished Anil, Shaktipriya, Yasuma, Dhanshri, Sunitha, Philomi, Sadan Kumar. Thanks for such appreciation, Sadan. Shashi Kumar, Mamathamai, Satapati, Amber, Harsha, Amber, Ganesh, Asita, Rajeshwari, Nilukati, Niharika, Fazil Rahman, Professor Nath Patil, Richa Verma, Pallavi, Thota Akhila, Sandeep, Nain, Kanchan, True Indians, Manju, Mohit, Karthi, KRK. Sir, let me know the topics from Hindu newspaper covered in your analysis is enough for UPSC exam. Yes, fine, yes. Dinesh, Athira, Kajal, Single Boy, Lakshmi, Ankit, Krishna, Krishnajit, Anand, Vipin, Lakshmi, Pratap, Anil, Lakshmi, Manju, GT, Avnesh. A very good morning to all of you. And guys, so now we have come to an end. Now the end of this year has come and new year, new beginnings are welcoming you. So I wish you all very, very happy new year. Now we'll be meeting back again on Monday. We'll be meeting on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves, celebrate New Year, take New Year's resolutions, and I wish that all your dreams that you have taken, all your aspirations that you have taken for New Year, they come true. Thank you.